Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap here on October the 18th of 2018. I'm Nick, here alongside Spookmaster General.
I am the Spookmaster General, and as we get closer to Halloween, my powers grow in intensity.
Apparently, your accent gets more exaggerated as well.
This is my natural accent, I'll have you know.
Does that mean you're going to talk like this the entire podcast?
For tangents and banter, of course. When it gets to opinion time, my powers may wane as we are not yet at All Hallows Eve.
Okay. All right, Count. Oh.
Do you dare question my powers, Nicholas? Nicholas.
Yes, I do.
Well, perhaps I should do something about this very normal and boring-looking overlay. Huzzah! Now it is spookified! With red eyes and a cobweb over there!
Well, I can't see that.
Well, the audience can, and this is really who we do the show for.
That's true.
Blah!
Okay. There's a spooky series we've got to talk about today.
The spookiest of series.
It's about spooky things like sex.
Ghosts are played out, Nick. What if the real spookiness is toxic masculinity?
That's pretty much what it is, yeah. So...
Which, of course, we knew when we took the spooky recommendation.
Well, I guess we should have expected something from the creator of Akunohana, or Flowers of Evil. So, but yeah, continued sexual weirdness in this series. It's called Yuutai Nova, and it's about a guy who learns to astrally project. And so, of course, the very first thing he does is he goes to creep on his ex-girlfriend and watch her, get changed and stuff and celebrate when she doesn't have sex with another guy, and then gets really sad when she does have sex with another guy because he's not having sex with her. That's not good.
This is a very strange series. It started off, and I'll tell you, like, the way the premise is kind of phrased does make it sound like it could be something somewhat spooky, or at least supernatural, because it's like, people have the ability to astral project themselves, although it's a little bit more than astral projection, because you also have the ability to interact with other astral projection, entities, and thus kind of influence things that way. But yeah, the start of it is a guy goes to check out his ex-girlfriend, which I guess you're like, that's not that unlike how many guys are out there checking out their ex-girlfriend's Facebook kind of things. Like, this is certainly a million times more invasive, but that was where I was like, I guess this is understandable. Then the concern comes in because he's watching this happen and he sees the girlfriend eventually come home and she's drunk and a guy's taking her in, and you're like, oh, okay, we'll see where this goes. The guy turns out to be a complete scumbag who waits till she passes out and then starts taking nude photos of her and using them. I don't know who he's announcing this to. He's one of those guys who
now to take nude photos of her.
I can't wait to blackmail her with these photos, he says to no one, incriminating himself.
I will use this to make her my sexual slave. There's no other way she would have sex with me, except for the fact that we already had sex, but anyway.
And as we come to find out later, apparently all you had to do was ask.
So, there's this whole big deal about him, doing all this sort of stuff, and I can't remember the character's name. It's not super important. He, he's trying to be, a good guy who's I can't let this happen. I can't interact with the human world in any way whatsoever, apparently. But, I'm going to follow this guy. And I'm going to try to warn her. I'm going to try to send her notes that say hey, this is what this guy's plan is. Don't go. Don't trust him. He's a bad guy. All these sorts of things.
So he does this by sending weird anonymous messages, letters in the mail, calls from phone booths and stuff. Don't go talking with that guy. And so of course she ignores them.
My favorite is when he sends a little girl to deliver the letter, and the letter is don't go to this meeting. You can't trust this guy. Signed, sincerely, your god of protection. It's
such
what a fucking weep way of doing
loser.
And then like they eventually get to this meeting where the guy and two other guys have basically brought these three girls that apparently all have like taken photos of, and they're like,
we blackmailed all of you. Now you must be our sex slave harem orgy girls or something like that.
And they start laughing because they're like, dude, her dad is like the chief of police. If you try to do this, you're going to be fucked for your entire life. And I was kind of into this idea that it was just a bunch of idiots who didn't realize, like, they were like, now we hold the power. You're like, no.
Honestly, if that had been the very final note they did on that our main character had been freaking out over his ex-girlfriend for no reason because she could take care of herself if it came down. Okay, that'd be pretty cool. And then it would, shows like, okay, well, all of your valiant has to be a hero are kind of wasted on this because, she's over here living in the real world, taking care of business. Mm. And it was refreshing to see just them say it's like, you fucking idiots. We know who you are.
Yeah.
You have revealed yourselves to us. We know exactly who to report this to. So fuck off. Actually, no.
Instead, what happens is the girls are like, you dumb idiots. You could have just asked and we'd be your bondage sex slaves. You're like, and then they all run off to have a giant orgy. And the floating ghost guy's like, well, this isn't how I expected this to go at all. And he just leaves. Like, he just turns and floats out of the room. It's almost like a sitcom where it's just him like, oh, well then.
So, after that... There's this other astral projecting girl that he's, been coming across once or twice since then. And so she's just like, come here, come on, it's okay. He's like, and then they have astral projection sex, which means
it's better than sex, Nick.
It's better than sex because it's like having sex with your soul. And basically, their spirits become one.
Yeah.
And their thoughts become each other's thoughts, and their feelings become each other's feelings. And then he stops astral projecting for a little while. And then another guy who can astral project finds him and is like, hey, check out all these other fucking creeps who astral project in order to check out women. Look at them, like, put their faces in that one idol girl's boobs while she's singing. Yeah. Go ahead and enjoy yourself, buddy.
Well, it's like this whole thing because there's this moment when after he fuses with the one girl, there's like this moment when he like sees someone else within her, like some fucking white-haired kid.
Dude in the hood.
Yeah, it's like kind of weird. And then later he finds out like, oh, like astral projection is an insanely common thing apparently. Like there's enough that all these dudes in the general area of this city are all gonna like go to where this one idol is like doing a performance, and like there's this, I don't even know what you'd call him, like the cult leader of the astral projection molestation gang. And he's like, hey, it's really nice to like check out this idol while she's showering, but don't you want to have sex with her? Come to her performance and we're all going to be able to have sex with her. And our lead's like, I don't really want to, but what the hell is he talking about? Like, you can't interact with the natural world at all. So he goes to the event to see what the fuck they're planning. And apparently they can just rip a person's, like, astral projection form out of their body if they want to. And then they all start fucking her. But it's the astral projection. It's not actual, like... So I guess you could consider it not porn. But they all are basically having sex with her. And she's fucking dazed out of her mind and just venting, so she has no idea what's happening. And a bunch of weird dudes are just merging into her into some one giant conglomerate. And our lead's like, no, this is wrong. I don't want to do this.
Checking out girls in the shower, that's fine.
But this is a step too far. And I'm like, I guess he has a line, which is appreciated. But then... he's just like, no, I don't want to do this because I love the other girl that I met. And then, like, the cult leader is just like, what? No, I love her. I'm going to go fuck her right now. And she shows up to, like, stop this guy from picking on our hero. And, I don't know, he does something where, like, he sticks his finger in your brain and, like, makes you comatose. But it's not very good because the guy gets out of it pretty quickly and, like, tries to interfere with him trying to like fuck this girl in the sky and become one, because like when you have quote unquote sex or whatever in the sky, whatever verb you want to use to describe it, you actually become one physical being. So he's like, if I do this with you, then we can never be separated again. We'll just never go back to our normal lives. We'll be ghosts forever, which is not how this works, but whatever. And it doesn't work because the ghost that's inside of her kicks him out. And that's kind of where we're at in the series right now.
Well, it just kind of ends there. Like,
well, we get like a tease that maybe there'll be more to this story.
Well, no. What happens is she tells him, like, you have to go and like, live a normal life now. I'm just, a ghost basically. So you need to go and like not be a shut-in loser. Mm-hmm. And so for a while he does, like, he gets a girlfriend. They go on a date, but then he spots the girl walking the street and is like, "Wait, come back!" But he loses her in the crowd. So then we cut to like 15 years later, and he never got over her. He wandered around trying to find her so that they could be together. And he hadn't been able to astral project the whole time, but he kept on trying to find her. So nothing was learned.
I gave a relatively positive review to Akinohana when we reviewed it, because I liked kind of analyzing it. I didn't have that with this series. And it's made me like Akinohana a lot less, because I'm like, this is a lot of the same stuff as Akinohana.
Uncomfortable sexuality.
Well, it's like it's even worse than that, because it feels like that whole the phrase like manic pixie dream girl kind of thing kind of comes up when you're like, there's this girl who's like, I'm your sexual superior and I'm going to teach you everything and kind of be your girlfriend in space, and you won't really know who I am. We get essentially no real like development to your character whatsoever. You're just in space and you like floating around and like kind of teasing other guys. And this guy's kind of just like a schlummy loser. And he's going to pine after you because he now worships you because you're like really inspiring. And he won't, even 15 years later, he won't have been like, well, that was, I guess maybe I should have learned my lesson after a bit. Maybe I could find somebody else now that I'm not astral projecting my entire life or whatever. But it's just one of those things where you would have expected maybe another angle or something like that. Like, there's just nothing to this series. It's just a bunch of people being really scummy. And it's like, I don't know, am I supposed to be like, wow, what a transcendent idea. Soul sex. It's crazy. No one's ever thought of that before. And that's
what if I could put my dick in a girl's spirit?
That's credits.
What if my spirit was my dick?
It'd be like,
and then sex. It would like being if like my dick and a girl became one, but I'd also be my dick. So here's the thing. When I was reading through this series, I was immediately put off of it because, like, oh great, this perverted loser is using his astral projection powers to look at his ex-girlfriend while she's in the shower, and he is sticking his head literally through her boobs in order to be near her. And he's like, I can't touch her, but I'm happy this way because I can kind of be with her. And then he immediately basically he sort of gets cucked after that. And the way that it plays out, in particular, the whole sequence where they're like, well, we'll just fucking sue you into oblivion if you do that to us. But, if you want to have really kinky sex, then sure. Here's the fourth hole that I have that guys don't know, that guys don't know about. And then he just watches it all happen. You just see images in his eyes of like all these girls getting fucked and him not getting any. And it's like, I think that we might just be supposed to think that this guy's a pathetic loser. And I think that it's almost being played for humor. But then it just kind of keeps going. And then it ends on the note of, no, he learned nothing from all of this. And I have to wonder how much of this manga was pointless navel gazing. And it's really the point that he starts off the manga hung up on this one girl that he really only wanted for sex, and then at the end of the manga he's hung up on a different girl who he probably only really wanted for sex. It was soul sex, so it meant more, but he really only connected with her through the soul sex and didn't know very much about her. Also, the reason that she's his ex-girlfriend is because they tried a bunch of times to have sex, but she was like not physically ready for it, and so she kept on saying, no, it hurts, stop. And eventually, after like 10 times trying to do it, which I understand, when you're young and you're inexperienced, that whole thing can be very awkward, and it doesn't always work out the way that you want it to. It's not like every single time that your dick gets hard, fireworks go off behind you, you know? And so eventually he just gets like, why are you so, if you just kept on going with me, then maybe you'd start to feel good, huh? This is so fucking bullshit. And it was like, wow, okay. You're a little, not really endearing yourself to me. I understand the frustration, though. Maybe he'll learn from this and become a better person. And so that's why she split up with him. And then he gets really upset because she wants to have kinky sex with a guy who's not me. And it's like, okay, red pill boy. It's okay. And then it's like, it's okay. I found a girl to have spirit sex with. And there's another girl that I guess I wanted to see what the spirit sex was about. There's spirit gangbanging her, but I won't do that because I only want to spirit sex the one girl who I had spirit sex with. Oh no, I can't be with her. No, I will pursue her to the ends of the earth and not learn my lesson from this series. So I think that was the point, but I still didn't like it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, it's maybe it's because I don't know. I can't tell if we're supposed to get more of the story because it kind of ends on this note of like maybe there'll be more or something like that. I'm not entirely certain, but it's one of those things where if like you look at it as like a short story, like, well, that was an odd, unsatisfied waste of my time kind of deal. And you're like, maybe if they elaborated more, you could be like, oh, like maybe later on they go into this. And that's kind of the lesson of the story on like a metaphysical level is like, we're also judging this girl and all this stuff too quickly. And there's layers to examine. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it does just feel like a story about a weird loser who gets cucked a lot, as you kind of said. And then, I don't know, there's like a couple visual gags that make me laugh. There's like one, because the way the ghosts work is they kind of just phase the body. So it's like a shot of like, kind of like a girl's legs partially opened up, and then his head pops through. And he's like, "Ha, a baby!" And he's just like, just to amuse himself. Who's enjoying this sight gag except for us, the audience? And then again, like when everyone just starts having this massive gangbang orgy, and he was like almost expecting like a parade, and he's just like, "Oh, this is what this has become."
Oh, this. You know, when you observe from the outside, this actually seems very creepy. If you can, like after that, can you imagine like he just sees like a guy creeping on his ex-girlfriend, and he's like, "Wow, that guy's really pathetic." Wait.
I love him floating out of the room after the orgy starts. He's like, I probably should be here for this. But I'll say, this is not a very scary story. I would not have read this for Halloween month if I was not kind of led in with the whole like astral projection gimmick of it, and then find out that has very little to do with the series except by means to get away soul sex into things.
Well, I think that this would make that this premise could definitely be used as like, I don't know, like a Twilight Zone kind of thing or a Black Mirror sort of story. So, and also it ends in a very depressed, and he never got over her, and he never moved on with his fucking life. The end.
I guess there's a satisfying story in that, and just like, I guess you got his just desserts. I don't know. It's one of those stories that I'm like, I have trouble really analyzing. I guess it's the purpose of a short story is to just kind of put something out there and be like, well, there you go, it's done. But
it's definitely one of the weirder series that we've looked at recently. But I think that's going to do it for that discussion. Why don't we move on then to regular stuff, especially since you're not doing your spooky voice, so you've clearly gotten out of it, man.
No, I told you, it's only for banter and for wackiness.
Banter. Ooh.
When I analyze, I have to go back to the voice of the mortal realm. My power of the spook zone is not powerful enough yet. Scare zone is better.
Okay, then. All right, we're going to do the recap portion, weekly manga recap. So starting with My Hero Academia.
I am not sure, but I believe your webcam may be fucked.
Maybe. Are you sure?
It is frozen on my end. Or should I say, frozen? No? Tombstones and... Got it. Nailed
Well,
it.
I just turned the webcam off and back on. That's
Now
usually
it works.
Well, there you go. When in doubt, turn off and on again. I can't seem to find the chapter title anywhere. Oh, there it is. It's very... Okay.
It's match 3.
It's like a phone game, Chris. You match 3.
True.
Yes, it is. So, last time Class 1B kicked Class 1A's ass 4-0. So they just kind of keep the ball rolling immediately there. We get a little bit of fallout, I guess you could say, from everything. There's no advice given by the teachers this time as there was after the first match.
What I'm stunned by, have they ever introduced before the human-hating robots that work at the school infirmary? Where they're just
they were around at least after the first round.
I don't remember these things at all, and I fucking love them when they're just scooting Yaoyorozu back to the class. They're like, humans are very inefficient. We should be rid of them. They require training to get stronger. How quaint.
Oh boy. They go over some of the stuff that happened during the match itself. And then people in Class 1A are like, we should actually use the time that we have before our matches start to, strategize. And so they start, and Deku is taking notes as he usually does. And then All Might comes up to him and he's like, hey, can you come over here and talk for a bit? And some of the people who watch them go are like, they're really getting along well, aren't they? And so he starts to talk with them. They start to talk about the stuff that Deku learned about One for All, especially with his dream recently. And he points out, like, you're going to get in a fight with Shinso. And when you guys faced off during the school festival arc, he triggered the vestiges. That was the first time that you heard them calling out to you. So, but then Bakugo comes up. And he's like, you guys swore me to secrecy about this whole One for All transferred quirk thing, and now you guys are just wandering off in the middle of the day to talk about stuff. So maybe you should be a little bit more fucking careful, huh? He makes a good point.
Yeah, he does.
And he also does his own form of Bakugo encouragement, which is half mocking, half bragging, but with an underpinning of good points, which is like, hey, if the power triggered on its own, then, you're still haven't made your quirk your own. And I'm getting stronger meanwhile, so there's no way you're going to be able to beat me. So, yeah. Also, I do like that Toshinori is basically voices this opinion to just himself, which is like, oh, he is showing that he cares in his own way. And then Bakugo is like, oh, stop looking at me like that, you asshole. Okay, maybe it doesn't. So it's time for match 3, Chris. So it's Tetsu's time to shine.
Yeah.
Along with that one weird horned girl, Sunotori, and some other guys.
What are you talking about, Nick? They're the great helmet guy and dude. I mean, look, Class 1A has one of them too. There's just like a third or fourth dude in the back.
What are you talking about? That oh wait. Oh. What's his quirk again? Who is that?
He has a tail. He's tail food guy.
I know who it is. I'm joking. His name's Ojiro, by the way.
There you go.
This does seem to be the way that come to think of it, this seems to be the way that Class 1B and 1A have kind of been split up. Is that with 1B, it's like, okay, there's at least one person on each team that you kind of know who they are already. So it's the four of them facing out against Todoroki, Ida, Shoji, and Ojiro. And as Todoroki's getting set to go to start the match, Tokoyami actually pulls him aside and says, like, hey, it's up to you now. And Todoroki's like, why me? Which has already been memed. I've seen that circulating around, just the blank expression of Todoroki. Why must I deal with the pressure so? But Tokoyami points out, it's like, Hawks and Endeavor had that huge battle recently, and we're their apprentices. So we are honor bound to uphold the reputation. And Todoroki's just like, yeah, okay.
He's like, fuck, I wish I had sober right now.
I think that's what is wrong. That's what his problem is. He just showed up, oh, fuck. Oh, man, I can't believe I had that wild party last night. I hope we don't have to do anything crazy. We're doing what?
Fuck, man, I need some goddamn soba to get myself pepped up.
So we get a flashback of Todoroki's training with Endeavor, and it's kind of hard to tell when this actually happened. I think it might be when Todoroki was a kid.
Yeah, it's little kid Todoroki. He looks so small.
I think he's supposed to be very young because his arms are short when he's buckled over like that. Mm-hmm. Also, Endeavor doesn't have the giant, massive ass scar, so this couldn't have been very recent. So this is a moment where Endeavor is, just really pressuring Todoroki so that he can learn all of his Flame Fist moves. And he comments offhandedly, Toya came close. His fire was greater than mine, but he took after Rei in Constitution. He came close. We haven't met Toya yet. We've met Natsu, but that's it in terms of fire powers. So this is, just reinforcing is like, all right, Endeavor was an abusive goddamn dad. And the only thing that he cared about Shoto for, at least up until very recently, was the fact that he was the perfect combination of quirks that he had always wanted. And Todoroki is very distracted thinking about this flashback until Ida catches his attention and is like, hey, you seem like, something's really bothering you right now. So are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? And Todoroki's like, I'm fine. I am the loner who never shows emotion. I'm on. Girls think that. Brood. Ojiro comments that he couldn't even tell that Todoroki was thinking about anything because his facial expression barely changed. And Ida just says, like, well, it's my job as class president to reach out to people who need it in the class. And he also comments that his brother has been recovering recently. He's doing better, and so he is putting pressure on himself to be worthy of the title of Ingenium in order to honor that. So, just a quick kind of, just to point out, like, Ida and Todoroki are the important ones in this battle. I don't know why you would think anyone else would be, but they are the important ones in this battle, and here's why. We cover to Class 1B's end of the battlefield, and Tetsu says that he has a plan, which is the team destroy. So what's our move? Well, it should be obvious. We're going to we're going to level the playing field, literally. And he just engages his steel quirk and starts wrecking everything around him. Bold bulldozing through everything. Forget doing all the clever playing and tricks and stuff. We're just gonna brawl. Let's do it. One of the two guys in the background is like, "Hey, don't do that." And then the other one, Juzo, says, we can probably think we can probably just work with this. As we see that his quirk is called softening. So the guy is like, why are you using such soft and flexible thinking? Because his personality is soft, like his quirk. He's yielding.
Bothers me that real
also
steel
Paul
like
speaks
steel.
in English. That's apparently the way that it was in the original Japanese. So blame Horikoshi's confusion, or perhaps he was trying to be very punny. I don't know. Maybe Tetsu made the mistake. Did you ever think of that, Chris?
Maybe he might be an idiot.
Might be. Anyway, they're gonna fight now. That's the end of the chapter.
I mean, I'm excited for it. Like, this is probably the team I'm most excited about because there's the most characters that are actually interesting on the team. I don't know. This entire arc just hasn't really captured me very much, though. So I'm kind of like in a case of like, all right, we'll see what happens.
Obviously, Chris, we need this tournament arc to go on for 3 more volumes.
It's like 6 or 7 more if we want to catch up to Flame of Rekka.
Yeah. So you just have. It's just not long enough yet, Chris. Once we get to volume 5 of this testing, then you'll see.
That's when it gets really good.
Okay. Right. Food Wars next, isn't it?
Let's actually do Eden Zero first. And in
sure.
the time that we're doing Eden Zero, could you really quick check your connection because you're breaking in and out on my end? So I'll start with Eden Zero, and we'll go on from there.
So what do you want me to like hang up or?
Yeah, just try like doing a reset real quick because your video's frozen again. So I just want to try to see if like a reset helps it. All right. So while Nick's doing that, let's get rid of that. We're gonna move on to Eden Zero, chapter 16, Sister. Which had a very robot bug-filled chapter. I guess that could be a regular bug. Yeah, I guess those are regular bugs. Anyway. So, last time, the Eden Zero turns out to be the name of the spaceship that they're all riding on, and it transformed into its true, original form, but it has not yet regained its true power, as it's come to find out. I can't remember what her name is. It doesn't give me an introduction. Anyway, the woman who showed up last week explains that the Eden Zero is very powerful, but it is incomplete because the Demon King created 4 shining stars, and all 4 of them must be brought together to make this ship as truly powerful as it needs to be. So she's one of them, but the other 3 must be gathered. So I think last week I may have suggested like it was like the villain group starting. Instead, it's much more along the lines of like finding I think it was the 5 Masters of Rave. It's that kind of deal. So they have to find the other 3 people and go from there. Was it just Witch? I always thought I gave her a cooler name than that. They explained, though, that the way it works is if they try to leave the Sakura Cosmos now, giant dragons kind of exist at the border, and they'll just devour the ship before they could possibly get there. So it's kind of like One Piece and the Grand Line and the Calm Belt, where you're just like, if you try to cut through it, you'll just be murdered. So that's the situation they're in. Shiki's, of course, really excited because he wants to go and see a bunch of dragons. Everyone else is like, yeah, no, we're cool. Not super interested in that. So that's where it is. Then we cut over to a sexy massage scene because why not? Why wouldn't we get a sexy massage scene at this point in the series? So Witch is having a sexy massage with Rebecca and explains to her like, hey, you want to master ether gear? Well, I forgot that this panel occurs as she is literally massaging Rebecca's butt cheeks. But she explains that if you soak in the bath every day, then it may become a possibility, because that's just how, like, the bath has those sort of properties to it. And there's a whole joke about BDSM torture pleasure massage, which is somewhat amusing because the one who actually chooses to take it is happy. And it's really creepy that I guess they have different size torture racks for everybody, but I don't know. I guess at least it's just not one of the other characters, but you still get a ton of like foot fetish and soapy wet fetish stuff in this chapter as this whole scene continues. The main crux here is that everyone, Rebecca Witch rather, is saying that's like, oh, okay, you know, like we have life memories implanted. Oh no, she's saying that to Happy. Sorry. Okay, hold on. Nick wants to try this again. Okay.
Ooh.
There we go. There's Nick. So they have this big...
Here's Nick.
Yeah, you have this big conversation, basically, which explains, like, hey, when it ended, I stayed on board the ship. The other 3 shining stars, they left to go do their own thing. And I don't know where they are, but one of them mentioned going towards Blue Garden. And she says that as she massages Rebecca's tits. So it's another one of those scenes where the important dialogue kind of comes in, and then it's massaging butts or tits or something like that. It's a good time. Anyway, Shiki and Weiss find a giant door that leads to core E173. Nick, as a hero fanboy, you know what that means?
No.
That's Ellie, Nick. That was the same code that was printed on Ellie's arm from Rave Master, and they always thought that was her code number. Or it was her code number, but she looked at it upside down, so she thought it was her name, Ellie. So, I assume maybe... my worry is that they're going to open this fucking door, and it's going to be fucking Ellie from Rave Master in there. And we find out this is just Heroception, and every part of this series intercepts into a new level of Hero series. But,
well, I mean, we've already seen the blues, so...
Sure. That is true. So... they explain that this door can't be unlocked because it needs all of the Shining Wizards, or whatever their fucking names are, needs all of them there before the door will open, and they should stop trying to like get inside because it's kind of rude. She gets this whole thing where he's just like, hey, you're not an object to witch. She's stunned by that because I guess she's always been thought to be a witch, or just to be an object. And Pino goes up and is like, do you think I have a heart too? And he's like, yeah, of course you are. That's kind of where the conversation goes. He's like, yeah, you have a heart too. They have this whole thing. They get to Blue Garden. Oh, I forgot. Happy's still locked into the fucking torture pleasure massage that's going on. But then they get to Blue Garden.
Rebecca's like calling over to Shiki. Like, stop saying that the machines have feelings. I'm gonna feel weird having her grope my fucking tits. You keep this.
So they get back to Blue Garden, and there's this moment where they kind of ask, they're like, hey, why are you still here, Weiss? And he's just like, well, because my planet's dead. But I don't plan on sticking with you guys later, so bye. And he just leaves. And I'm like, all right, I guess we'll come back to that later. Which explains that she can't go with them. She can't leave the ships, but she can contact them. They go to Blue Garden's guild. I forget what the actual name of the Adventurers Guild was. Stopped caring. The receptionist comes in and says, oh, I was so worried. And then the super bully bitch comes in and is like, yes, we were worried. We were so worried you'd come back with another boring video. I was so worried that all my views would go through the roof. And I'm like, you're a bad bully. You're really bad at this. You need a better bully tactic, because that sucked. Come on.
This is Hero's understanding of the new generation, Chris, of the internet age. This is how bullying works now. Is they taunt each other over view counts, right? It's a new form of harassment. I mean, and it's so insidious because the stats are right there, Chris. You can't even deny it.
I mean, it is in actuality how a lot of like YouTube beef start is usually over like view counts. Like usually like if you see a diss track that sometimes comes up in there. But there's this whole thing about Labilia being like, oh, what's going on? Yeah, all the people are watching my videos and they think you're so hilarious because you're so bad. You're laughing. We're like, we can't stop laughing at your stuff and your little kitty cat dance. Ha ha ha. Oh man. Oh, you should just give up being a beekeeper altogether. And then she sees Shiki and she's like, oh, won't you be in one of my videos, please? She's like, you think I'd help someone who bullies Rebecca? And she's like, bully is such a strong word. I'm only giving her advice. Talentless garbage need to learn when to give up the beekeeper business. And she walks away. And we're meant to get like, Rebecca. And I'm still like, I'm at this point where I'm like, I'm trying to remember if we have a reason for why Rebecca's chosen to be a beekeeper that's something beyond to be famous. And I can't remember if there is or not. So it's one of those like shallow, like, I'll show her. And I was like, do you need to?
No, Chris. You have to understand. This is the way that Hero understands the internet age. It's just like, this is what people care about. Is getting there. It's like, it's okay. You know, I want to be a beekeeper. That's a noble dream. Yes. Get the view counts.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the worth aspiring to.
Clarice, the guild receptionist, comes back and it says like, oh no, I didn't mean I was worried about you. It's that the guild master wants to talk to you and I'm so worried. And they kind of stop there because we're like, what? The guild master wants to see me? Why? And we cut away back over to Labilia and she's talking to what I guess is her security force. It
does seem like she's got bodyguards, yes.
Well, yeah, because he talks about like, oh, how do I shoot a video that makes these boring toys look fun? And the guys behind her are like, don't be like that. I mean, the pay is far too low for that. So I don't know if that's her entourage or if that's like her accountant and like her publicist people. I don't know. But then the mysterious guy in a cool looking coat says, target identified. And then he says, sister, I will now execute the mission.
Look at this guy in his headband.
He's trying really hard to look really cool.
What do you guys think of my cyborg Sasuke cosplay?
I thought it was pretty dope. I don't have much to say on this chapter. I like that we have kind of a goal now. Find the 3 shining wizards or shining stars or whatever their fucking names are. Shining generals, something like that. I think that's kind of like a decent goal to like set us going forward. I'm just not crazy about a lot of the other stuff that's going on. The Labilia stuff is just like, she's so obnoxiously like evil that it's like I'm like watching like an 80s movie or like a 90s movie where you're like, these guys are fucking, this is a really good like Mean Girls or something like that almost, but not far enough. Like I want some Heathers type shit where they start really going after her.
But Chris, there's someone who's going after Labilia, it seems. So that must mean that she is going to be the new side character focused upon and introduced to the group properly this time. Aren't you so excited that the bitchy character is going to be part of the group now?
It's still too early to say. I think we have a lot of other stuff that could potentially happen during this arc. We still need a reason for Weiss to stay with the crew. And
true.
God, I feel like I'm fucking talking about One Piece when I say this, and I know I am because this is basically Space One Piece now. But it is one of those things where like we need something to get Weiss back in the group and other stuff. I guess we need to find out where the Shining Star is. Maybe this dude's the Shining Star or whatever, or I don't know. Could be something else. My worry is they're about to meet the Guildmaster, and we're gonna get in there. It's gonna be fucking Makarov because he was like, you know who was a great Guildmaster? And guess what his power is in space? He can get really, really big and then punch something.
He gets really, really big and punches something while the space helmet appears on his head.
Yeah,
that's the only other thing that happens. And they talk about him like he's some legend. Like, yeah, he's been around since the Dark Ages when people used magic and swords and sorcery were the norm instead of technology. That's how long and how effective a guildmaster he's been. And then he goes and tries to punch something, gets knocked on his ass. He's been just as consistent as that for 1,500 years.
You're like, dude, you had to really struggle to keep that kind of record up.
to be 1 in 2,900.
It's like they've got like someone following him around with like a strikeout counter, but it's an L counter instead. Yeah, another loss, Makarov. Yeah, just stretches for miles and miles. Oh god. All right. Food Wars time. It's chapter 283. Hunters and Prey. So, Takumi and Soma and Megami arrive at the Blue Chris, and the easiest way to explain this chapter is, you remember how Yusuke and company took part in that dark tournament Yu Yu Hakusho, and it turned out that the tournament started when they were on the boats? See, it's like that. They show up, and they're not even inside the tower when they've got to actually start battling. Meanwhile, freaking Asahi gets to go like 3 stages ahead, and he's like, "Yeah, you're already way behind me. Bye, losers."
I mean, it's fine as like a way to be like, "Oh, hey," because the way they set it up, it's like there's 3 gates, and then the actual like building where the big stuff's gonna take place at. So he's like, "Hey, I get to pass the first 2 gates automatically. So the first chance you're ever gonna have to face me, it's gonna be inside the tower. Like that's the only way. So you have something to like build up to." And it's like, and here's my cavalcade of weirdos. And it's like a giant clown, a guy with the Hannibal Lecter mask, some girl with like a fucking animatronic bunny mask on her head. Morpheus is there. Yeah. A guy with a motorcycle helmet, which is, I guess, the weird thing. He's like, I have a motorcycle helmet, but I'm not even riding a motorcycle.
A guy who is apparently in a cult with a big white beard.
And a Santa cult.
And a Yu-Gi-Oh villain.
Yeah.
With 2-toned hair, who has torn jeans and a very poor conditioned shirt. And frickin' Dick Tracy in the back. So why not? So it turns out that the demon clown guy that we saw at the end of the last chapter, now he's the baseline. He fits right in with it. Look, that girl's got a bunny eating her head. Look at her. So
like, I do kind of like it as a way of being like, look at all my assortment of weirdos. Fear me.
They don't even look like chefs at all.
The only cooking instrument we can even kind of see is the Yu-Gi-Oh guy has a switchblade in his hand, and I guess he could cut things with it. Everyone else is
so happy if he does.
I want every one of these dudes to have the most fucking unorthodox, inconvenient cooking style possible. Like the clown's like, I don't use an oven. I just throw the food in between my belly fat flaps and heat it up that way with my own body heat. And everyone's like, fuck, he's so talented.
But won't that make it really gross and grody? No, it's delicious!
Don't you understand? His body leaks ranch dressing, which is the perfect seasoning to this.
Oh no, I'm almost being beaten. It's time for me to take things up a step. My armpits secrete honey mustard!
And that's what I serve you on a plate, my dismembered arm!
You imagine like freaking the 2-tone hair guy, like he gets in a match with Megami, and he just goes up to her, just does the spy thing from Team Fortress 2, who would and just like, oh no, just chops some vegetables.
I want Morpheus.
What a horribly inconvenient way to chop vegetables.
I want Morpheus dude to show up, and he's just like, you could have this pill. Or this pill, and both of them are just narcotics that knock you out. And he, like, when you come to, you're just like, I won. My food was better. You're like, I don't remember it, but it must have been fucking amazing if it knocked me out. Like, none of these guys are actual chefs. They're all like criminals. Like, the girl just gives you a dose of cocaine, and you're just like, I mean, it didn't taste so great, but fuck, I'm focused now.
They're like, fuck, I've had one guy threaten me with a knife, and then 9 other guys just drug me.
Why did we allow the criminal organization of chefs to show up?
The one dude's like, I served you like baby steak. Like, what kind of baby? Oh, human baby.
I meant what I said. The only things, I guess, of real note are Une, the one of the 3 judges from the winter tests, does like a video introduction thing to explain how the tournament process works. So she's apparently sticking around for a little bit. And then we get, exchange of words between Soma and Asahi. But nothing really special gets said. Soma makes bold declarations and says that he's going to overcome Asahi and he's going to take him down. And that's about it. So there you go.
The main other thing
we got to this point actually really quickly for the last point.
We get a tease of, I guess, what would be the head of the entire cooking judge world, some mysterious figure behind the curtain who is the master of the World Gourmet Organization, I think is what it stands for.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who are kind of administering this test, and they're like, to even see me, you will have to get to the castle keep. I won't even look at your food otherwise, that kind of deal.
It's just Makarov, so.
He's like, and I'm going to get really big.
His method of taking part in shokugekis is to get really big and punch the other guy once, and then he gets knocked out by their cooking.
He gets really big, then eats the cookie. He's unsatisfied. He's like, those portions were so small. They're like, well, it wasn't before you got 17 feet bigger, you asshole. Speaking of which, have
the other judge and the...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I saw a trending topic on Twitter today that I had to click. So apparently there's a food company that was doing some like documentary on the Philadelphia classic food, the Philly taco, which is, no lie, just a Philadelphia cheesesteak that you put on top of a slice of pizza and then wrap it up and eat it like a giant burrito. Not a taco. But they're showing people eating it, and like they have this smaller girl, like one of their producers. They use her as like the photo of her taking the first bite. So she takes one bite, and first she's like, "Yas," and then like it cuts away. Then it cuts back to her. She's going back. It clearly cuts at that part where she says that, and she takes a bite, and she just gives a stare, like she just got through Nom. Like she's just looking through, and she's like, "This is so much," and like her face, her eyes have become so dead, and she just looks like she has the ghosts of 1,000 lifetimes haunting her as she eats this enormous burrito of pizza and cheesesteak. And every comment on it is a bunch of people being like, I'm from Philly, I've never fucking heard of this stupid bullshit.
Boy. Do you think that one of the other judges for the Blue is going to be the old guy from Dr. Stone?
Goes in, it's just like, I didn't know if I should put salt and pepper in this soup, so I didn't put pepper. Put salt in? Let's give up the contest. I'm gonna blow up this entire station. They're like, no, we told you couldn't bring dynamite to this.
He like throws his food on the ground. Like, no, I don't have any to eat. He steals the other judges.
He's like,
I don't know, can eat it.
I dropped my fork in the toilet while I was going to the bathroom. Everyone's disqualified. Like,
why did you take your fork with you into the bathroom?
I get lonely.
Well, I don't like mine, so no one can have it. Throws the portions for the other two judges off onto the ground. The cook's like, I spent 2 hours making this.
Now you can spend 4 hours making it again and getting me a new fork. I'm hungry. Like, of course you are. You stupid son of a bitch. You just threw away all the food.
All right.
Oh, is that more baby steak?
Oh yeah, he gives the guy with baby steak like full marks though. Like, yeah.
This is exactly the kind of cynicism I was expecting from this contest.
The only other, every other dish that he eats is like, I like the baby steak better. Kill more children for me.
It's like, I thought at first he was just someone who gave up dramatically. Now I just think he's evil.
All right. Chris, we never learn.
Yes. Hold on a sec. Let me get over to We Never Learn. Question 83. An X's joke makes a genius dance. There we go. All right. I had to get in close for that. So we have a little cover page thing. It's not super impactful, so I'm not really going to bring it up too much. But we start with like the group at study class, and they're, you know, kind of going through things, and Yuutai accidentally kind of bumps up against, actually, Haruka bumps up against him. And immediately like, blushes and like throws herself from the table. She's like, nope. And
she almost does like a Matrix dodge.
And everyone's like, whoa, what was that? And I love how Fumino is the only one at the table who's like, like she immediately picks up what's going on. So she invites Haruka out to lunch and is like, oh, hey, what about that friend of yours? Just that friend you talked about who had that crush. She's like, so what do you think about long distance love? And Fumino's like, oh, I don't know where that came from, but you know, they say it's pretty common nowadays, and they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. And Haruka's really excited about this. She's like, you think so? But then Fumino drops like a line. She's like, but being in another country would be pretty hard. And clearly, like, her expression has dropped.
Oh.
And she's like, wait a minute, are you planning to go abroad, Haruka? And she's like, no, my friend is. You see, she was recently in a sports event or something and got invited to apply overseas. And she's like, you're not even trying to make it not you. She's like, and my friend, she goes out to lunch with this one friend of hers to talk about her problems, but it's really about herself. And she's like, hey, and she doesn't want anyone to know for sure.
And then she gets really nervous when people push her on the matter and just kind of like refuses to make eye contact with them. And then, she's just always telling me that Fumino, God, what a bitch, just pressuring me to talk about myself this way. Her friend is also named Fumino.
There's two Fuminos. So she's having this thing where she's like, yeah, I don't want to tell anybody until she knows for sure. And she has to pass her exams. But, when she thinks about her crush, her head just spins, so she has to create some distance. My friend, that is, I'm speaking to. So, and of course, in that moment, walks Yuutai, who's like, table for one? He's like, yes, can I use these? If you scroll in, he has a coupon for free fries and a free drink, or a free ice cream sundae, I think. And I love it that he's like, can I eat at your restaurant and just get free food? And they're like, I mean, I guess.
This buy one, get one deal. That means that the second one is free. So could you just give me the one for free without me buying the other one?
Well, I feel bad because as we find out later, Yuutai doesn't get to stay behind. So I feel like he probably gave them the coupon and he's like, shit, I have to leave. I guess it's like moldy bread crust for me for the next month.
I remember one time when I was in high school, while at a math competition. It's very important that you know that detail. No, it isn't.
we all didn't want our illusion of high school Nick being a super cool dude to be shattered.
Yeah, I don't have my sunglasses, so I can't pretend that I am.
I love this notion that was like you in the math study class, like with a leather jacket on and like a mohawk for some reason.
Whenever we walked around, one of us had like a boom box that was playing gangster rap or something like that.
No, this is early 2000s. Cool dude Nick. He was playing like Puddle of Mud or Papa Roach, one of those cool bands. POD.
Sure. So, but one time, because we would always like for lunch go to the mall in order to just grab whatever the hell we wanted from the food court. And so we had a little bit of time before we then had to go back. So we went down to the Haagen-Dazs that was in the mall, and one of us had a coupon that was like $1 or something like that, $1 or $2 off, something paltry. And so he walks into the Haagen-Dazs and he's just like, "What can I get here for $1?" And the guy immediately says, "Nothing."
He's like, get out of here with your cheap ass coupon, you cheap son of a bitch.
so we laugh without getting anything.
Oh, those are sad realities I know all too well. So
A bunch of white kids. We had money.
So Yuega's about to go sit down. He sees Fumino. He's like, "Oh, hey, you here by yourself?" She's like, "What are you?" And she turns and she sees Fumino, sorry, not Fumino. Iruka has dropped from the table, taking her plate with her, and starts texting Fumino saying, "Shh, don't tell him I'm here." And this has nothing to do with what we were talking about earlier.
I love that she's texting her so well, considering that she's dedicating both of her hands to holding her cake and her drink. So how is she texting?
I have no idea. And of course, there's a moment too where she texts her about her underwear. She's like, "Ooh, sexy undies. I'm slightly breathless." And it's just for me to like, bitch, I'm helping you. Like, I'm doing you the favor. And there's this moment here though where she sees what Yuiga's working on. It's for Yuruka, and she's just like, "Oh, is that for her?" And she's like, "Yeah, I need to prepare for study materials for tomorrow, and it helps me review, so it works out." And he's saying like, she's been really motivated all of a sudden, and it's been really rewarding and fun for all this. And there's like a series of emojis of like a happy dog being like, "Ah, he's happy talking about me." And he just pauses and he's like, "Oh, speaking of Iruka, I needed to ask your advice." So she's recently been acting kind of distant, and I get the sense she's avoiding me. And he's like, "Do you think that maybe she started dating someone?" And the table cracks as she slammed her face. And there's a moment when like Yuega's like, "What's going on down there?" So Fumino has to be like, "No, don't. I'm wearing a skirt. You'll see my underwear." And it's like, "Oh, right. I almost made a horrible faux pas." And that's all he gives. He's like, "I guess she must have the situation below the table completely under control." So there's this whole thing, and she's Firmina's like, "Why do you think she's dating somebody?" He's like, "Well, I just knew she had a crush on someone, so I wondered if maybe." And Firmino is like, "Iruka isn't dating anyone. So how do you feel about that, Yuega?" He's like, "Ooh." She's like, "So if something came up for Iruka and it took her away from us, how would you feel, Yuega? How do you want things to be?" It's an interesting question. He's like, "Well, I guess I know she has feelings for someone, so I hope she could find happiness with that person. That seems best." And Firmina's like, "Is that all?" And he's like, "No. I mean, I guess I'd miss her a little." And she's like, "I knew it. I guess Iruka's really important to you, isn't she?" He says, "Of course she is." Then his phone goes off, and he's like, "Oh, crap, I forgot my mom wanted me to go shopping with her. Don't eat my free fries or I'll kill you, bitch." And then he runs out of the room. And there's a moment then when Firmino looks underneath the table, and Iruka is steaming with kind of blushing embarrassment or hormones or whatever you'd call it. I don't know what the verb would be there, adjective. So she thanks her on the way home. And just says, "Hey, thanks for your advice today. It was really helpful for my friend, wink, wink." And Firmino's about to text her like, "Hey, tell your friend that if she avoids her crush too much, it might." And she starts thinking back to all the, the different people in this, Firmino or Iruka and Yuega. It's just fuck it. And she runs over to Yuega and just says, "Hey, that thing about Iruka having a crush on someone, it's not true." And Yuega's like, "Why are you telling me this?" She's like, "Figure it out yourself, fuckface." And then, of course, they do like the whole like last panel joke thing where he's like, "I don't know what this means." She's like, "Think of it as a word problem for your study of the female psyche." He's like, "I don't know what that means." But that's the chapter. Pretty, potentially a pretty significant chapter in the grand scheme of things.
Do really like this chapter. It's a nice advancement of the thing that we have with Iruka trying to now kind of deny herself her feelings, and so that she doesn't get attached to Yuiga and then be torn apart from him. And that is like, I think, the most interesting ongoing plot that we've got in this series. And I do really like the way that Fumino handles it here, where she's just like, I've got to do something. So she interferes a little bit, but not too much. And it's just like, hey, I'm just going to, remove this one barrier, and then maybe something will happen. But she's not going to try and force anything. She's going to still let the two of them actually do things while she just kind of allows them to not be stuck in the situation that they're in. Give them a chance to advance if they can.
Yeah, I like this chapter a lot. I mean, I think my big issue with a lot of harem series like these tend to be the characters who refuse to ever do anything. And it's really nice to see that not only does like the occasional chapter come out where like the relationships seem to progress forward, but there's a character like Fumino who is still trying to struggle with her own feelings on things, but actually takes a couple steps this chapter to just be like, I'm tired of you guys like wuss-footing around on this. Like you need to push forward. So she feels like she could have helped keep the status quo by sending that text like, hey, maybe you should talk to him. She's like, no, fuck it. I'm going to say something to Uega, clear up the situation for him, and make him be the one to like kind of force us. And it's like, it's really nice and satisfying to have that in a series like this, where it feels like the characters aren't stuck in this constant orbit around each other, where they never get any closer or anything like that. It's nice.
Yeah. So,
did we want to talk at all about the Comiq?
No.
You didn't like it?
I didn't read it.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to really quickly kind of sum it up?
If you want to. I will note that according to spoilers, the next chapter we never learn apparently has to do with Kurisu. So
sweet. Can't wait.
Yeah.
So I want to talk real quick about the Comiq. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Instead of the comic, there's a Q instead of a second C. But the entire premise is that in this world, it's kind of introduced strange, where they're like, this manga is a work of fiction. Everything in this is fictional. In the present day, certain prisons have inmates draw backgrounds for manga to the objective to ease them back into society. It's like, okay. And that's the premise here. Our lead here draws shoujo manga, and it's doing decently. He's getting run in Shoujo Jump, and his editor kind of just like gets him these backgrounds, and he doesn't know who gives it to him. He just says like, "Oh, thank them. I'm going to keep working my best so that this all kind of comes together." And he gets a tech, or he rather calls his, I guess, little sister, who is a big fan of his work and is pretty excited. And she's just like, yeah, I can't believe some of the sappy stuff you come up with, but you've been doing everything, and you got to get famous, like Himikawa, who's like the big deal. And they're like, oh wait, he's doing a live stream right now, so let's go check it out. He apparently live streams like a Q&A with his audience. So she asks the guy during the Q&A what he thinks of her brother's series, and he's just like, well, let me check this out. Oh, it sucks. He's like, everything in there's so hokey and weird. But then he gets this giant 2-page spread, and he like stops, and he has this horrified, shocked expression. And he's like, sorry guys, I must have been so stunned by how boring this manga is. It's garbage. Anyway, I'm gonna leave now, bye.
Fuck that guy.
And he then goes over and makes a call to have somebody investigate the author of this series. So as we kind of find out from this, immediately the guy comes in, encounters the private detective in a laundromat. The detective brings up the Halloween murder, and specifically a symbol dedicated to it. So our lead goes back to his place. He sees like a voodoo talisman set up in his house, and all the data on his computer has been like busted. And he's like, I should probably investigate this. So he looks up the Halloween murder and specifically sees that there is a symbol connected to the crime. And when he looks at the panel in his manga, he sees that when you look at it a certain way in the ballroom scene that was kind of painted, and this is a background that he didn't draw, the same symbol is in the ground of that shot that this mysterious background artist of his is working on. So, he goes and meets his editor. His editor's like, yeah, we have the data. It's all good. So everything like that. And Ryuma's like, no, I need to know about the guy who draws my backgrounds. Is he the murderer from the Halloween murders? Everything like that. Let me meet him. Goes to meet him in prison. Has this sort of thing. He's talking to him, just saying, hey, you know, thank you for all your help and drawing my backgrounds. And I was surprised by how detailed it is. It's even better than what you've been currently doing. You know, it's better than what I deserve. And he has this whole thing. Like, I noticed that in the scene with the Halloween murder symbol, you put a flower. And I draw a lot of shoujo manga, so I know a lot of the meanings of flowers. And I know that that's a snowdrop. And it means consolement in the language of flowers. And has another meaning, hope. And he sees the manga background artist is trying to speak. And that's when, like, the guard pulls him away. And Ryoma realizes that the manga artist is mute, can't speak. And he's been communicating with the outside world through his manga, trying to tell people that he's innocent for the Halloween murders. And Ryoma promises to find and set the truth free with the power of our manga. It's an interesting premise. It's actually kind of like appropriately timed to have like the start of this happen right around the Halloween season and everything too.
True.
It's interesting. I'll give it that. So I'm digging it. It's a limited run series. I don't know if it's going to run the entire way through. Why not tell the cops? Because it's a manga and they're going to solve this murder through the power of manga, which is a very fucking manga way of approaching a problem. But I dig it.
Takahashi comes up with some weird ideas for manga, doesn't he?
Very much so. But I appreciate it. It's something strange, but like as a limited series, I think it has a lot of potential. This is the series is called Comiq, but the second C in Comiq is a Q. So just kind of note that if you're looking for it.
Yes. All right. With that said, let's move on to Dr. Stone then, why don't we?
It's time to get stoned.
Yeah.
Blah.
Yes. All right, it's chapter Z equals 78, that which destroys or saves. So last time with the power of dynamite, airplanes, Senku blew something up. And he and Chrome and Gin all have more dynamite paper airplanes at their disposal in order to keep the battle basically at a halt. Now they can blow stuff up if they need to. And Gin tries to make it seem even more destructive by saying, if we use these, it'll have an overall blast force of 10 billion megaton joules. And Senku's like, no, it won't. And Gin's like, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
Shut up. Just go with it. Those idiots won't know better.
Some of the guys on Tsukasa's side was like, well, you're using paper airplanes. It's not like it's guaranteed to hit us. And then freaking Ukyo shows up and he's got some of the paper strung around an arrow on a bow. And he's like, oh, okay, well, this will be way more accurate, won't it?
They're like, well, fuck.
So immediately Tsukasa's men start throwing down their spears. Meanwhile, Hyoga just like, he set the tree on fire. Magnificent. And he actually pulls down his face mask thing, and he's got all of his scarring from the stone paralysis is around his mouth. Gives him a very sort of Joker look to him. So I feel like if there's one person from all of this that's going to probably stay villainous, it's probably this guy. He looks very deliberately evil. So Chrome and Taiju are immediately celebrating. They're like, yes, we did it. It's over. But Gen understands, like, well, here's the real problem. Because, Tsukasa, we've got to figure out what to do about him. And Tsukasa quickly analyzes the situation, and he's like, okay, it would be impossible to actually shoot down your projectiles. Dodging the blast radius is impossible, so there's no evading the new weapon. But others would surely get caught in the blast, and many would die. And you don't abandon others so easily, Senku, nor would you sacrifice yourself like that. And Senku, doesn't even bother to, pretend, but he just says, like, yeah, it seems like we're in a stalemate right now. And Tsukasa immediately realizes you wanted this to happen so that we could actually make a deal of some sort. And Senku mentions kind of in an aside, a long aside to Gen. He says, like, when you first met Tsukasa, you said that you did it during a TV special. But you know what? That guy had a guy. He could have it all. He could have had anything in the world. But now he talks about purging society of the rich, the powerful, and the corrupt. He's giving it all for those lofty ideals of his. That's the sort of guy that Tsukasa Shishio is. And yet, he would fight in the ring. He made TV appearances. And he raked in a lot of money. So that doesn't really add up. And again, is like, that never occurred to me. But yeah, why? You talk about how capitalism is evil, and yet you participate in capitalism. What's with that, Tsukasa? But he, went for all this money and power and stuff when he seems to detest those things. And so Senku says, she's alive, isn't she, Tsukasa? Your sister. And we get a flashback to when Tsukasa was still very young, it seems. And his younger sister Mirai, that accident that he mentioned way back at the beginning of the series when he talked about that asshole who did things to a little girl and then, broke his statue apart. Or broke a guy who happened to have a boat, like the guy, whatever. Anyway, we see that, he decided to take part in these MMA fights in order to earn money, and he decided that he would earn as much money as it took in order to get her unhooked from those machines. And Senku says, I think that we might be able to help her with the healing properties of the depetrification process. And Taiju points out, when your neck got broken, the revival fluid fixed that. And Senku immediately, stops looking sincere for a second. He's like, oh, look, we've got control of the revival fluid. Will you believe that? Okay.
It's like, oh, right. What a scumbag.
What an asshole. But he immediately switches back to sincere mode. Because Tsukasa wants to know, all right, what do you want? And he says, we're going to give you a chance to revive your sister. And in return, we want a ceasefire. And Tsukasa says, okay. And how can you prove that you're not just talking a bunch of nonsense? And Senku says, all I can give you is my word. I don't lie about science. Isn't that enough? And Tsukasa says, it is enough. And so immediately they set about using dynamite for non-combat purposes. They just start using it to excavate around the area where the hospital would have been. And Senku says, this place is, probably got bodies buried underneath all this rubble. But if any of the statues get destroyed, it's no problem because we can just put them back together again. And immediately Yuzuri is like, and who's going to have to do all that, huh? So they, blow up some stuff. They dig through rubble. They use not the steam gorilla, but a new kind of bulldozer thing. And they dig through all the rubble. This must be taking a considerable amount of time for them to do all this stuff, obviously. I mean, this would have to be months of work.
Nope, an afternoon. One afternoon.
But while they're digging through stuff, there's, a narrator who's saying, did Alfred Nobel invent dynamite for military applications or for public works? And Senku says, I don't really know. Who cares how that old dude felt anyway? But what I can say, though, is the money that he made from the mighty force of destruction, the Nobel Prize, was led to immeasurable scientific advancements. And in turn, we'll use the power of dynamite to dig, and save them all. And shortly after that point, we see that Tsukasa has come across the stone-ified body of his younger sister, Mirai, and so they dig her out, clothe her, and then use the revival liquid on her. And that's where the chapter ends. So,
good chapter. I like this one a lot.
I think that after the last several weeks, we got the impression that Tsukasa would have to be redeemed somehow or brought over to the good side somehow. And there's no guarantee that this ceasefire is going to be a permanent thing or if this is just a momentary truce and he's going to go back to his endless ways. But it's nice that we have established this considerably more psychotic seeming, less trustworthy guy in Hyoga as a backup that could potentially be put on and to remain an antagonistic force through the story. So it kind of gives you a bit of wiggle room and also doesn't make you think, oh, well, he's definitely going to be redeemed from this, or, oh, he's definitely not going to be, because maybe it could go either way. And keep you guessing. So
I like it. I don't know if it's maybe the exact answer, but I'm assuming that if everything works out here so well, perhaps what'll happen is like, well, we saved your sister. We can't let you go back into the world. Like, what if you go into, like, essentially we create a prison or something like that, like something where we put you away to like see your thoughts through or something like that. Like, I feel like right now,
so we've got this really big chair and we're gonna strap you to it with all these leather straps.
And then you can't hurt anybody again. Wait a minute, his power's too strong for the chair. Aizen is in this series now. All you need to do is put a person in a chair.
Tsukasa's hair gets really short. It was, when did you ever think that I wasn't Aizen?
Shit.
When did you ever think that it wasn't Kubo writing this story?
Nick, I think I've been wrong all along. Every series is just Bleach.
Oh, no.
But I like this chapter. I think there's a lot of
until now.
There's a lot of interesting ways they can kind of go from here, but I'm very intrigued to see what is the like ramification of this. But I do think this is about as satisfying of a sort of like conclusion to all this as we're gonna get. This idea of like, you know, Tsukasa needed to be stopped, but the way Senku stopped him is through science more than anything else, and through creating like bonds through science, as opposed to like we got an exact like definition for Senku. He had dynamite. He could have thrown dynamite and killed Tsukasa, and instead he's like, hey, I think through science we can actually save your little sister instead. And it's like, that's the qualification that makes Senku the kind of admirable character that he is. Like, that's what sort of defines him. So this is like a great encapsulation of that.
Yeah, and it follows the ethos of the series is, you know, every single obstacle that Senku has come across, except for like the lions at the beginning, the solution was not to destroy the problem, but to win it over. Whether it came to the village as a whole, when it came to Magma, when it came to all of the various followers of Tsukasa who have gone over to their side, when it came to Gen, when you think about it, the solution was never, we need to defeat this person and kill them. It was, this person just needs to be shown the light. And so I did kind of figure that something like that would happen with Tsukasa eventually. It happens a little bit suddenly, I will say. If this is the true conclusion of Tsukasa as the villain, it kind of comes very quickly. And we haven't really thought about that younger sister of his for over a year at this point. Probably like a year and a half, even. So if this is truly the end, it did happen a little bit quickly, but as a standalone chapter, this is very good.
Yeah, no, I dig it a lot. Big fan, I guess I should say. This is also right on track for the kind of pace that Dr. Stone kind of keeps in general.
That's true. All right, let's move on to the 7 Deadly Sins then.
7 Deadly Sins, chapter 285. What lies ahead? So last chapter, Wild rather, bravely sacrificed himself so that Bond and Melodius could escape into the portal out of purgatory and back into the mortal realm. And they're falling through, and they find that their bodies aren't responding to their commands, and they're drifting away. So Bond's like, hey, grab my hand so we don't split up. And Melodius realizes, oh, wait, splitting up, that's the thing. We're getting pulled in two different directions. You came through purgatory through Hawk, so you're headed towards him, and I'm still in that cocoon. So that's where I'm headed right now. So, we're going to see each other, I guess, later then. And there's a moment, though, where Melodius is like, I wish we could have let Wild see his brother even once. And Bond's like, yeah, But when we get back, let's let him hear the song, you know? And he's like, you think Hawk will remember? And he's like, yeah, I think his jaw will drop when he sees you. So, catch you then. And then a giant hand comes through and grabs Melodious. No! And the Demon King is like, I got you. I told you I'm not letting you return to the mortal plane. And
it's actually kind of a humorous image because after the giant ant grabs Meliodas, it's you immediately cut outside and the Demon King is like on his hands and knees with his hand just shoved down the hole of the window. He's like, all right, I know I dropped my keys down here somewhere, but I just can't see them.
I got him. I got my keys. I mean, my son.
Wow, wait a minute. What the fuck? This is a Snickers bar. How long has this been down here? Well.
I'll just reversal if it's too bad. It'll heal me. And at first I was really worried because Bon has this whole thing. He's like, I'll be back to save you. I won't give up until I do. And I was like, oh God, we didn't get all this work.
We're not done with this arc.
For fucking Melodious to get grabbed back. But Melodious says, don't worry about me. I'm going to get back on my own. Just you wait and see. And Demon King's like, ha ha ha, such futile posturing. And just how do you intend on getting free of my hand? Oh God. Oh! And we see the entire hand has been separated from the Demon King's body. And he's like, a power capable of destroying my flesh? Melodious, it can't be. Melodious explains, like, hey, you said so yourself. I'm afraid you were right. Now that I've awoken my power, even if when I'm back to the side, I won't be able to stay there. But that's still what I've decided to do. And Demon King's kind of scowling and giving this glower. You can't really see because his eyes are hidden in the shadow. He's like, you can't go back. You'll ruin everything. And Melodious just laughs. He's like, that's the first time I've ever seen you look flustered. Bye, bitch. And he floats away. Then we cut back to one of the different groups. This is the group where Merlin, Ludishel, Escobar, Hendrickson, and Gilthunder, I think, are the 5 people there. And they're outside this giant portal of darkness where the captain's physical body is kind of hidden inside the cocoon. They're like, there's nothing we can do to destroy this. My perfect cube can't contain this. This thing's not going away otherwise. So they're like, all right, we'll use Sanctuary. We'll create this sort of shield and we'll go in that way because this thing is going to want the commandment that Merlin has. And the entire time this is happening, Ludishel's kind of analyzing everyone within the group. So she's, kind of looking over and kind of analyzing them. She's like, oh, Escanor, he possesses the grace of my little brother, and I've never met a more proud and irritating man, but I know he'll be very powerful for this upcoming fight. And the other 2 here, one, I don't even give a thought to. But then she notes, like, Hendrickson in particular worships me, unlike his comrades who have been dumbed down to dolls with the breath of bless. He's kept his judgment and head about him. As a shield and in terms of ability, he's an inferior choice, but he could serve as a substitute vessel should the need arise. Like, ooh.
And then I'll have a sweet goatee.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be the best. So Ludishel makes Sanctuary. They go inside. And they say, like, hey, once we're in, there's not really gain any, there's no getting out of here. So they find the giant cocoon, they land, and they see that several people have been expecting them. And we see from the panel who it is. It's Chandler, Zeldris, and the other one whose name I always forget, and I always will, because his name's not Chandler. And they say, like, the leader of the 4 archangels, the daughter of Balin, the Escanor who defeated our brother Esterosa, and other 2. We won't let you mess with Melodious. And they have this big, like, full, like, double-page spread of each of them kind of staring down with each other. And Escanor towers over Chandler, and the other guy's towering over Merlin. And then Ludishel and Zeldris are just face-to-face normal, and it's this really cool way of, like, juxtaposing these 2 giants, like, sandwiched between them. And there's 2 normal people, like, we're the actual important people in this exchange.
It's a really cool 2-page spread. I've never seen anything quite like it.
It is awesome. And Ludishel says, this is my first time seeing you in the flesh. And Zeldris responds, and your last. which is a very cool.
That's a good line. That's a good line. So
and, that's the chapter. So it looks like we're getting set up for a couple of fights here. The fights for Melodius's body, essentially, as he's returning back from purgatory. And I'm pretty stoked for all of these. Like, we know all these characters are stupidly powerful, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
It's a good point as well that they had Bon and Melius being separated because, like, oh yeah, well, we're being pulled back to our entry points, so I'm not just gonna pop out right next to you. Okay. So yeah, a nice setup chapter, and that's really about it. I felt like the previous chapter was the real climax of the Stuck in Purgatory storyline. Oh, yeah. So I didn't feel too much about this follow-up, but I do really like some of the little moments in the build-up to this next part of the story. All right, Promised Neverland. I don't really have a lot to say about this chapter. It's chapter 102. Makes me sick. No, 107. 102.
I'm not on the page yet, and I'm trying to remember what happens in this. They kill one person. Isn't that it?
Hugo and Lucas kill a couple of the guys that are after them while they reminisce about their...
They kill two of them.
They kill a couple of them while they're wandering around the facility, and they reminisce about their time together when they were at one of the farms, when they escaped, and Hugo thinks to himself, like, I've lived alone dealing with demons for 13 years. All of it. Everything you guys did makes me sick. Our lives aren't for you to play with. I lost everything. By chance, I regained it. I'm not letting you take it away from me again. We're gonna stop you right here and now. And then you're just like, fuck you guys. You got just food. Die. That's it. That's the chapter. They run around with guns. It's almost like watching like a Counter-Strike game.
I do kind of like it. There's this notion that we're getting a bit more of their backstory, and we're kind of learning the farm life that they had. We see more of this. I can't remember her name. Dinah rather. Dinah was this character that was kind of like their third in their 3-person group. And, like Hugo had feelings for her, and, Lucas was trying to like push him to make that. And we know that everyone else in that group died. So Dinah is someone specifically who Hugo is carrying the weight of her death on. And it's interesting to see that explored. This is one of those things where I wish we'd almost had more time with Hugo and Lucas to really get into it. But I still do like it. It's just... maybe it would help more. They play such limited numbers in this group that it'd be more interesting, I think, if we knew anyone in the villain group outside of just Andrew. Because it makes, like, when you have such limited numbers and you're like, everyone except one dude is just a body, it creates a lot less tension.
They're literally faceless because you only see them in their gas masks as well.
Yeah.
And I think that I would have enjoyed this more if there were more of a focus on those flashbacks. If it were wrapping up as like, this is what his life has led him to, as opposed to, and then he hit around the corner, and then Lucas shot the guy. Okay, who cares? It's very uninteresting.
Maybe what would have been more interesting is that, last chapter ends, they go down the hole and they're like, yeah, this will make a good resting place. And in this chapter, there is no present day stuff. It's just a flashback to their time back in the garden. And we get to know Dinah through that and go through the entire thing. Because maybe we did see it and that we don't remember because we didn't have context to know she was supposed to be that important. But we see what eventually did her in. Like, what was Hugo's last memories of her. Like, go through that entire thing as a chapter, essentially. And at the end of it, cut back to the present. And now we have a much more like firmly established idea of what's going through these guys' heads as they go into this shelter, preparing to essentially die to save their friends. It'd be really interesting, I think, that way, as opposed to, as you said, mixing it up with like what almost feels like a tactical RPS or something like that.
Yeah, maybe give like some more emotional weight to either the sacrifice these guys are going to make, or try and get people to feel like they don't want them to die. And I think that'd be a good way of doing that. that's the way that you see it done in a lot of, death scenes, is you get that flashback to make you feel really emotional about them as they're dying. And it's especially for, even in comparison to like some of the just straight up combat stuff that we got in the previous arc, when there was a bunch of kids trying to find ways to destroy the masks. There doesn't seem to be a lot of tension to this, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe they're gonna die, but I'm not going to anticipate that any of these random dudes wandering around these halls is going to be able to gun them both down. So they just don't seem dangerous or important enough. So yeah, this chapter really didn't do it very much for me.
It's okay. It's just not particularly like super memorable or anything like that.
And we don't have One Piece this week, which means that we're going to wrap things up on Black Clover.
You mean Black Clover, Nicholas?
That's what I meant, Spookmaster General. My mistake.
Ooh, excellent.
This is well, I didn't think we would ever get a chapter like this, honestly.
So, page 177, Battlefield Dancer. So last time, Noelle accessed this super powerful magic, and we start the chapter by explaining how spells generally seem to work. They explain that when you're nobility, you're generally born with like ability already in you. So sometimes like dedicated training can pay off, and sometimes spells come when you have an intense wish or desire for it to happen. But mages are just so innately powerful that they don't really need to ever have that happen to them. They just kind of gain it over time because they're just so innately powerful. But not for Noelle. Not only is she innately powerful by being, a noble, she's worked and trained and survived life and death situations over and over again. So now it's all kind of come together in this spell that's allowing her to kind of save her family in this situation. That's what's given her this power. And the compass person starts by shooting out all these compass needles, and Noelle dances around them as she sort of explains. The compass person says, "It looks as though she's swimming through space. She's eluding both the magic attack mana and the disturbances in this magical space as though she's skimming over high waves. Does this spell give her a perfect grasp of this mana surrounding that armor?" But she's like, "Hey, my needles will home in on you and attack you no matter what. So I'll just throw all of them." And she throws all of them. And she's like, even if that armor cracks slightly, this would strip it off. So, this is going to happen. But Noelle is like, "No, that pain I felt earlier seems unreal now. It's as if I've been released from a cage. Oh, so magic is something this wild and free." And she's smiling. And we see Nozel, who is bleeding out on the ground with a sword still impaled in him, is just like, "Wow, very pretty." He's like, very quite enchanting.
Wow, she looked like identical to Mom. I wasn't kidding before.
So, Noelle approaches her and is attacking her with her water lance thing. And Compass Lady's like, "No, willful Compass, I'm changing your destination and that of all the mana currents you dance gracefully through. To hell. Now fall, Royal." But instead of her compass saying her straight down, it starts spinning wildly. She's like, "What? She overruled my mana compulsion." And Noelle says, "Sorry, but I'm not dancing gracefully. I'm struggling and fighting and forcing my way forward. Now be destroyed, you and your twisted world." And her spear pierces through the shield and impales the compass woman. It looks like it delivers the decisive blow.
So this was really cool. I really enjoyed this. I thought that did a good job of demonstrating how Noelle's new spell and type of fighting were different from what we've seen to this point. Even from Asta's, who's, gets the big weapon and then just flies straight ahead. She moves differently, and her spells at least work a little bit differently. And I liked seeing things just kind of come together in this moment for Noelle's character, who had struggled for everything and was so desperate to get better, and now she finally has made this huge breakthrough, and you can see that it means something to her because she's actually proud of the magic that she's using. And it seems like she actually got to win. Whether or not that holds true, because the chapter ends as the blow is struck, as opposed to with the guy going, "Blah, I'm dead." I guess we'll have to see.
And that's solid. I'm not like in love with it, but I like it a good lot. And I like Noelle having like a cool chapter to herself too.
Yeah.
Now, Nick, would you say that perhaps Black Clover has now become the most tactful series running in Shonen Jump right now? With its tactics.
The what now?
The most tactical series running in Shonen Jump right now.
Most tactical. Oh.
No other series has put tactics so much on the forefront in a shonen battle manga before.
No, I would not agree with that.
Name one that is currently running in Shonen Jump or may return.
So I guess the note that we'll end on.
Nick, what are you talking about? What? I ask a question, it needs an answer.
Well, I guess if
Nicholas,
to trigger
please.
a discussion here.
I don't. It feels like you're leading up to something, but I do not know. Blah.
I guess we might as well just say that we got the best manga-related news ever this week.
That Black
World
Clover
Trigger
is still
coming
at the
back.
top of the lists.
That's nice. World Trigger is coming back to
What?
Shonen Jump. It will only be...
What, Nick? What?
Yes.
World Trigger's coming back? Ah,
Yes.
no! Get back down there! It is my Halloween month! You are not to come back! Nick! Are you serious? It's coming back!
According to what we know, World Trigger is coming back to Weekly Shonen Jump for only like a month and a half, but after that point, it will be running monthly. What that probably
no,
means...
you can't! No! 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 No!
What that probably means is that once it hits...
I'm back, Nick! The Spookmaster General's dead! World Trigger is coming back!
What that probably means is that when World Trigger becomes a Jump Square series in December, I think that we'll be getting chapters from that like on the weeks that we get, say, Boruto and Aono Exorcist and stuff like that. So it will not be a weekly thing, but I would have to guess that it will be a regular monthly thing once it shifts over to that. And I am very happy about that.
Yes.
So
we're getting World Trigger back. I have already confirmed that when we get its first chapter back, we'll have Annalise for that week so that she can talk about it as well. And there may be a new chapter of World Trigger to my heart and back door as well. There may be one sitting around just waiting for us.
Oh, happy day.
World Trigger's back, bitches! Woo! Also, the Spookmaster General's dead. He just died that day. That was the story.
Oh, happy day. So, Chris, then, I guess that we have to call it quits for this week. So, what were your favorite series and your MVP?
I think favorite series I'm going to give to Dr. Stone because I like that resolution a lot. I like kind of that moment of Senku kind of solving everything in his own special way. I think is a really satisfying kind of thing.
I am going to give it to Black Clover.
Okay.
I felt about as positively on Black Clover as I did on Dr. Stone, but I wanted to give props to the series that I tend to really be negative on. When it does something good, I want to give it acknowledgement for that. My MVP I'm going to give to Fumino. From We Never Learn. I really liked this direction for a character. She has been probably my least favorite of Yuiga's love interests of late, but The way that she interacts here with Yuiga and with Iruka, I did really like. And I liked that she, it did a lot. It did a lot for her. It was not just she was being a supporting friend, but she was trying to really be to keep the secret, and while also trying to be pushy, and also while mentioning but not pushing too hard on the fact that she seems to be developing feelings for Yuiga herself. It was something that even if you didn't know that about her, the moment that it's brought up does work. When she's not sending that text message after typing it out. That's what the purpose of it is, but it's also not really ham-fisting it in. So even that small moment was done really well with her. I really liked her in this chapter.
I will agree. My MVP this week is Boomino.
Oh no, he's coming back, Chris. It's the resurrection.
What do you mean? Isn't her name Boomino?
Oh no, it's affecting his psyche. They'll never be separated from each other.
Never learn Boomino. No results. Well, fuck you, Google.
Are you on a site called Boogle.com?
Yeah, I'm on Boogle.com, Nick. Why am I getting nothing? Hold on.
And the special image that they're doing for this week is "You Will Never Escape Me, Chris." Huh? I don't remember that anniversary.
Google.com is strange. It sends me to a Google search page, but then it has a quote beneath it. It says, "It does no harm just once in a while to acknowledge that the whole country isn't in flames, that there are people in the country besides politicians, entertainers, and criminals." And I'm like, what? What is this site? Is this like hipster Google?
What the fuck is that? All right. That's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We record the show generally starting around 7:30 Eastern time on Thursdays, but sometimes we do need to change things up. To stay updated on that stuff, follow us on Twitter. Your hosts are at Roloti and at Nick F. Time, and the official podcast account is at WMR Podcast. And if you want to check out our past episodes, you can check us out on YouTube, on iTunes, and on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com. That's where you can find our full archive of episodes. And be sure to leave a comment, rating, subscription, etc., all that good stuff to help out with the algorithm so that we can defeat the woodworkers and become kings of the hobby section. If you would like to make a recommendation for us, it is still Halloween month. The series that we are taking this week...
Please be an actual spooky series.
Comes to us from the recommendation section of our Discord server, which is probably the best place to make those recommendations these days. You can still send them to us via email, but this one comes to us from a discussion that a couple of guys were having about one artist. One made one suggestion, but then another brought up another series that he had done. I think it was, hang on a second, I think it was Flame Fist 96 made this suggestion for a series called Bastard, which is a Korean webtoon, and the summary on the website is "There is a serial killer in my house." So that should work.
That should work.
Please keep on sending that stuff to us. And, of course, if you want to give us feedback or ask a question for us to answer in our Q&A episodes, you can send that to us via email. weeklymangarecap@yahoo.com is the address to do that. And special thanks go out to our Patreon supporters. We appreciate all the help that you guys can give us in order to create bonus content for you guys. And to people who help us out in making the show what it is, Infamous Planet and Steve Mann, our title artist.
Special thanks to Infamous Planet, by the way, who, despite the Spookmaster General putting his approval on it, this was actually created by Infamous Planet on a pure whim of his own, by the way. So special thanks to him for that. And also in the Discord for recommendations, there is a Google Doc sheet as well. So if you're going to recommend something, you can check the list to see if it's been recommended already. Mm-hmm. You can see the people who have recommended it, things like that. So by all means, guys, feel free to put out suggestions for that, and we can get recommendations that way.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Nothing left to say.
That's it. So, I was going to do a Freaking Mug recap, and I think that we're going to log off here before the Spooky Master General makes his presence known again.
If I had any technical skills, this would be where I'd be like, well, Nick, I'm just going to head out of here. And then, I'd walk away, and then... you can't... There you go. Just pretend you can't see me. And then you just see, a... raising from the ground. And it's
Like it has the stupid mask too, like roar.
We hear like really, really weird shuffling noises. Like so, you slide off screen. Then shit.
Fuck! God damn it! Stupid spiders.
I get below the. Ah!
Just like that, hit my mic, knock my entire system down. Fuck! I knew this stupid character would be the death of me. That's it.